Somebody got stuck in an elevator, I think. It's Tower 12, that's based up the street. And Rescue Squad 2 is over in another part of town. I had a long drive to get over here. And that's the cathedral. And they gotta go back home now. Hello again. Welcome to Washington, D.C., where we're just out for an afternoon hike. One or two clouds in the sky. Let's see if we can jaywalk. Have I eaten? I had a grape. Really for lunch. I had an Arby's. So I had to run out to my beach house today for like the dumbest of reasons, to get a textbook for my kid that he forgot over the weekend. Pissed me off. So on the way back I grabbed an Arby's. This is Wisconsin Avenue. You are at the National Cathedral in Northwest Washington, D.C. And we're going to cut across the cathedral grounds and make our way down Wisconsin Avenue, I think, today. We'll head over to the British School, the British International School. Cut behind the British International School. Yeah, I'm not in China, unfortunately, anymore. I live in Washington, D.C. now for a couple of years. And then we'll try to get back to Asia soon or later. I'm actually, so the plan is we're going to do this walk. It's going to be about 10,000 steps. And hey, Spike, it is pretty, isn't it? And then we're going to make our way to the grocery store, where I'm going to buy a steak, a cucumber, and some eggs. And I'm going to make the kids a steak dinner. And I'm going to have a cucumber salad. Yeah, I used to be in Hong Kong. Now I'm in reverse culture shock every day. Back here in the United States. And this is the church house. This is the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, D.C. This is their administrative headquarters. That, of course, is the cathedral. That's their pastoral headquarters. This is actually a local church for people who don't want to go to the big cathedral for a service and want something more intimate. And there's the Washington Monument. There's the Washington Monument down by the White House. Pretty far away. And then over here is the boys' school, the all-boys school, which is virtual. Virtual school right now. They are not back in classes. You want to take a photo? Yeah, of what? The cathedral? Sure. Any plans to return to Hong Kong? I'll be going back to Hong Kong next summer for a month or two. But as far as moving back, it's complicated. Here we go. There's your photo. If you want a screenshot. Welcome, Pietro, to Periscope. Welcome to Washington, D.C. at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. My sons do attend school over here at this school. That's why I live in the neighborhood. We have a house in the country, but we rent an apartment in the city. Hey, there's a black squirrel. Black squirrel of death. Squirrel de la muerte. When you see a black squirrel, it is an omen of evil tidings. Not really. It's just a weird thing that happens when an albino squirrel mates with a red squirrel. Or a gray squirrel. you get a black squirrel. So this is my son's school. How far am I from the White House? I'm probably about 2 miles to the White House from here. But I'm only about a half a mile from the Vice President's house. So this is my son's school right here. But they are not in session. When they are in session, they actually have classes in a tent. So the students are in tents when they do come to campus, which is rare. I think they come once a week. The younger kids come 3 times a week. They're judged not to be as much or as that much worse. All right, I'm gonna go over to Wisconsin Avenue. Yeah, fresh air, better circulation. That's the problem with a lot of these old private schools. You know, the buildings were built in the 1920s. They're cloistered, claustrophobic, and it's just simply impossible to socially distance inside those buildings. Yes, all schools in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, including Maryland and Virginia, are currently in virtual learning systems for at least the first third or half of the school year. If it's homeschooling, we're the teacher's aide, basically. Parents are at home to fix computer problems and answer student requests and all the other crap that goes on. That might have been a garbage truck going by. Or something else, I don't know. Lots of different noises. I'm gonna get over the other side of the street. Hang on. Oh, it's also cicadas. You might be hearing cicada noises. So we're about to, let's walk down the street. We're gonna go by the Russian embassy. Lots of little communists running around. Now I scoped going to the White House. I did that just last week, actually. But the riot control fences are up at the White House, so we couldn't get very close. But if you look at my scope just a couple days ago, if you go into my my history, you'll see a very long walk from right here down to the White House. This is upper middle class neighborhood. The houses in this neighborhood start at about $1.5 million and go up to many multiples of that. This is kind of the start of what we say upper northwest. In DC, upper northwest, DC is the most expensive part of DC. And it borders Georgetown University. The Georgetown neighborhood is down here, kind of on the border. But like that house right there, that's easily, probably 1.7 million, I think, for that White House there. Yeah, this is not really most days, but it's surprising. We do get, crime alerts, and, people get robbed, stabbed, mugged in all parts of the city. Obama lives down on Massachusetts Avenue, down by by Ivanka Trump, actually. And we'll be close to Obama's house later, but I don't plan to go over there. You can't really go past his house due to Secret Service blockades. The Secret Service blocks off the road in front of Obama's house, so you can't actually go down there unless you're a neighbor. He has like 8 or 10 neighbors on that little section, that little hidden section of the street. One of his neighbors is actually Ivanka Trump. Another neighbor is the Washington Islamic Center. And his final neighbor is the Russian military intelligence attaché's office. It is a late walk. I'm actually pairing up this walk with a run to the grocery store to get dinner. Yet another one of those, it's 5 o'clock, what are we doing for dinner? What did we defrost? Nothing. But one of the things about living in the city is we live literally across the street from a grocery store. It's a cute dog. So the argument, well, we didn't defrost anything, doesn't really hold water because we just walk across and buy whatever we need. In fact, I've already been to the grocery store twice today. So this will be my third time. It's usually kind of, I go about 2 or 3 times a day to the grocery store. Do we enjoy Washington? No one's allowed in Obama's neighborhood. Do we enjoy Washington or Hong Kong? It's a trade-off. I mean, there's trade-offs we've talked about. The air, of course, is much better here. This is the Russian embassy, by the way. You see the Russian flag there. But we miss the food from Hong Kong. Who does the cooking in the house? It varies. I actually cooked lunch today. She cooked breakfast. What happened this morning? My youngest had a very bad dream and jumped into my bed at about 2 in the morning. And by 3 in the morning, he had kicked me out of the bed. So I went out to the couch. I slept on the couch. And then the kid got up at about 6:30. So I went back into bed. And then I slept from 6:30 till about 8 o'clock because I was tired. And the wife made breakfast. I don't even know what the heck she made for breakfast, but she made breakfast. Then I got up and I made lunch. I did a stir-fried rice with bratwurst today. Actually, I had this bratwurst that I had to get rid of. So I cooked some bratwurst, bacon, and I think the wife had some lamb left over. And we stir-fried that into a rice with onions and some... So what else do we? Some other things. He's 11, and yeah, he had a scary dream last night about a man with a gun or something like that. Too much Fortnite. So right over there is a COVID testing facility. That's a drive-through COVID testing thing. There's a couple of them on this road, actually. That one you need to make an appointment for. It's actually shut right now. You can get the nasal swab, or you can get the antibody test at that one. No, he was playing a video game last night, and some dude private messaged him something, and the dude's profile picture was him holding a gun. And my kid was like, this guy has a gun, he's gonna kill me, I was like, dude, this guy's probably in like North Korea, forget him, you know? So we shut down the video game, but of course that was on his mind as he went to bed, and then of course it was on his mind when he woke up at 2:30 in the morning. So, late night video games, no. And it was funny because he was playing freaking FIFA or something like that. Some kid harassing him. Yeah. So this neighborhood is called Glover Park. It depends. This is Glover Park by all standards, but real estate agents call this North Georgetown, because they want people to pay a slight premium to live here, because Georgetown is, of course, a very hoity, expensive neighborhood. And if you live in, quote, North Georgetown, then you would pay more in rent, supposedly. I'm actually wearing my son's mask. My son has all these masks from school. And my mask, I don't know what happened to my mask. I don't know where it is. So I grabbed one of his. We have a house. We rent in the city, but we own a house out in the country, if that makes sense. Our house in the country is about an hour's drive from here, so it's not really something we could do that. Is there any looting? Not much. few broken windows. Oh wow, they set up outdoor dining here. This is a Uyghur place, which is actually supposed to be really good. I've not eaten here, though. Uyghurs are an ethnic minority living in China. So over on our left, so the vice president lives behind those trees over there. You see those big trees? On the other side of that is the U.S. Naval Observatory. That is the vice president's house. In fact, I can't get over the other side of the street, but you can see there's like a backdoor entrance to the VP's house. Over there also is a place called Good Guys, and that is a place where good guys do not go. That is your local neighborhood strip club, the closest strip club to the Russian embassy. And during the Cold War, you could come here, and parked in front of Good Guys would be 2 FBI teams. And they were following Russian diplomats around the city. And the Russian diplomats went into Good Guys for the chicken wings, of course, just for the chicken wings. And outside, the FBI agents would sit in their Ford Tauruses or whatever, not even a Taurus, like Chevy Impalas basically, because their job was to follow the Russians all over the city, or no matter where they went. Funny story, one day the FBI agents, on a particularly cold night, were sitting outside Good Guys, and one of the senior agents said, "You know what, screw this." So he grabbed the other agent. They opened up the door to Good Guys. The Russians saw them, of course, because they know who they are. And the Russians said, "Hey, come on over." So they sat down with the Russians, had a beer, had some chicken wings, and talked about life. So these 2 FBI guys were just so fed up with sitting out in the cold, they decided to go in and have chicken wings with the Russian guys they were following. I don't know if they got disciplined for that. Yeah, that's in a book called Spy vs. Spy by a Newsweek reporter named Kessler, and it's one of the details a lot of the Cold War spy operations in Washington, D.C. I think it might be out of print now. I went to the Spy Museum bookshop, which is actually a really good bookshop for intelligence stuff. I am not in Russia. I did work in Russia for a while, but we just passed the Russian embassy. I'm walking downhill. That makes me walk a little faster. But we're about to deviate off this road and go into the country. Oh, I did some work in Moscow, some work in Kazan, some work in a little town called Sarov. I was helping out some people at the Kurchatov Institute, if you know the Kurchatov Institute in Moscow. And if you know what sort of stuff is done in Sarov, then you have a pretty good idea what kind of work I was in. Now I'm messed by. The NIH is way the heck up in Rockville, their headquarters. This is actually the Chinese diplomats, Chinese embassy's visa section. So a lot of Chinese have to come here to get visas. Russia is kind of interesting. I haven't been to Russia though in 15 years. I've been to Eastern Europe recently. I was in Romania just last year. In fact, I'm supposed to go back to Romania in a month or two, but Romania's got a really bad case of COVID-19. And I'm not really up for traveling just yet. No. I'm a no guy. It was funny, when I went to Russia, I was heavier than I am now, which is hard to do because I have been getting heavy. I don't speak much Russian, no. I used to know how to say I don't speak Russian in Russian because back when I was in Russia, I was bigger, all right? I was heavy, and I wore a black leather jacket, all right? Black leather jacket, kind of a heavy-set guy, and I had my hair cut really short, all right? You know, and in Russia, I looked like a Russian mobster, basically. It's because I'd always be walking around with this guy, my business partner, who was this skinny, bespectacled little guy, but I was always like this big guy standing behind him. So a lot of people in Russia just came up to me and started speaking in Russian all the time. A lot of Americans over there thought I was Russian. It's kind of funny. Plus, I had one of those really great Russian fur hats. I tell you, when it comes to those, those little hats they make in Russia, the fur ones with the flaps that go down over ears, those things are so freaking warm. Oh, I love that hat. I gave it to my dad, actually. But, I was just telling the kids a story about Russia the other night, so one night, I'm on a train from Moscow to Kazan. This is like a 12 to 14 hour train ride, all right? And about, 5 or 6 hours outside of Moscow, the train has to switch from electrical engines to diesel power, all right? So you pull over on this siding, they disconnect the electric engine, and then they bring in a diesel engine for the remainder of the trip. Now, the place where this takes place is next door to a Russian crystal factory where they make the most beautiful Russian cocktail sets, chandeliers, sculptures, all this incredible Russian-made crystal. And it's right next to the train side. And the people in this factory are very poorly paid, all right? Sometimes they're paid in goods rather than in cash. So when the train stops to switch from electric to diesel, all these factory people come out, and they're holding like chandeliers, and they're holding like glass flutes, and they're holding like all this crazy, beautiful stuff. And my guide is like, don't speak English. If you speak English, you're gonna get surrounded and mobbed. So I went outside, walked around. I wanted a couple items, so I had my translator. I gave her some money, and then she would track it down for me and pick it up without me having to pay the Guilo American price. Sort of the same thing that goes on in China. Shopping in China with my wife is kind of funny. We'd walk through a store, we'd pick out the things we'd want, and then I'd have to go outside. And then she would go back into the store and haggle with them in Chinese, hoping they wouldn't remember that she was with me, because if I had to buy it, I had to pay this like insane price. Like one time I wanted this really cool Chinese shirt, like the traditional collar shirt. And they start quoting me a price, and it's like $30 US. No, it's $40 US. My wife's like, oh, get the hell out of here. Yeah. So ends up, we get the shirt I think we got the shirt for $5 US. All right. So he ends up getting it for $5. As we're walking away, she's furious. She's like, I could have got 4. I'm just like, let it be, darling. No, I could have gotten 4. He would have taken 4 and paid 5. Ugh. I'm just like, all right. He quoted me 40, so. All right, so we just passed the British International School. That building up there is the British International School. My kids are in school, but school is virtual from our home. So basically, I have all the joys of homeschooling plus the $48,000 a kid price tag. Or is it 49? I lose track. So that's the British International School. Wayne Rooney's kids went there. Most of the British diplomats, and in fact a number of other Commonwealth diplomat kids go on there. This is the Dumbarton Oaks Trail. Dumbarton Oaks is a private garden up here that's actually, I believe, owned and operated by Harvard University right now. Harvard and Princeton. The Dumbarton Library is the library of the Bretton Woods documents. The Bretton Woods documents set up the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank following World War II. The Bretton Woods is a park about 10-15 miles from Washington, D.C. The Bretton Woods Conference is still studied today, 70 years later, and the original documents, meeting notes, etc., are kept at the Dumbarton Library up here, where researchers and economists will come over and do that. Yeah, the fact is, though, not a lot of savings. I mean, the school, they're not really saving any money being online. They still have to pay for the school building and security and electricity. They're saving on lunch, but our school decided to keep the lunch staff on payroll, even though they're not cooking lunch, because they thought it was kind of harsh to let them go into this kind of economy when it really just costs most of the parents a few dollars a week. So they kept our lunch staff on call, which was nice of them. Same with the buildings and maintenance staff and security. They're all still on staff. There's a little creek back here. It's a pretty bridge back here. It's kind of like 100-acre woods back here. Actually, I think I'm supposed to be on another trail, but we'll deal with it. Up behind those trees, Hillary Clinton's house. The Clintons' Washington house is up there, as is the Denmark embassy, and we'll see a little bit later the Italian embassy is also back up in those trees. Dumbarton Oaks is right up there, the building. But I gotta confess, I'm not really sure where I'm supposed to be at this part of the trail, because I usually take the other trail. So we're gonna have to slide over there, I think. You guys should be able to hear the cicadas. So we're going to cook a steak for the kids tonight. Any suggestions? They like flank steak a lot. I think it's too much fat, but they like it. So maybe I'll give them a flank steak. They're putting their mask on now. So DC law requires that you wear a mask in public unless you're doing, quote, strenuous exercise. So if you're running or biking, you don't have to wear a mask. But a pleasant evening stroll, it's a different ball of wax. I must say, this really is a crafty path. Bunch of odd-shaped stones. I miss the trails in Hong Kong. They were better maintained. The hiking trails in Hong Kong are basically like expressways compared to these things. I was thinking about that. That's actually my kid's favorite dish in the Taiwanese street markets, is blowtorch beef. If you ever get a chance to go to Taiwan, check out the night markets. They cut up the beef into these little cubes, And then they put it on this pan and they heat it up with a blowtorch, a propane flamethrower. So we call it blowtorch beef. It's actually really good. That's my kid's favorite dish. They ate a ton of blowtorch beef. Unfortunately, I don't really have a blowtorch. Can't really recreate that. But maybe I will just cube the steak and cut it, stir fry it. No, Americans are not banned. However, everyone that enters Hong Kong, and I do mean everyone, has to go through a 2-week enforced quarantine in a hotel with a GPS tracking monitor on their wrist, and they're tested twice. So, Americans are still allowed. This leads into Rock Creek, but this is the Dumbarton Oaks Path. I don't know what the name of this tributary is. Rock Creek is up ahead. In fact, we'll be walking next to Rock Creek, sort of. So yeah, if I'm to go to Hong Kong, I land at the airport. I am tested immediately upon arrival. If I am found to be positive, I'm sent to a government quarantine facility, which is not that nice. If I test negative, I can go to a hotel where I have to stay for 2 weeks in my room. Nightmarish. Yeah, the EU has officially banned this, but I think individual countries can make exemptions to the ban on Americans. I actually probably could get away with it because I'm a permanent resident of Hong Kong. As such, I could probably claim I'm not coming from the U.S. when I'm in Hong Kong. And I don't think Hong Kongers are subject to the ban. It's not a passport-based ban, it's a residence-based ban. But it's complicated because most countries have rules that citizens of those countries can never be banned from entering those countries. Have you ever been inside the Supreme Court building behind the Capitol? Yes, I have seen decisions rendered at the Supreme Court. In fact, I went to the Supreme Court to see the Webster decision, one of the seminal abortion cases of the 1980s. But when I got there that day, they replied, Webster will not be decided today. It's like, oh. So I ended up hearing there's some decision on administrative law being decided. I was like, ooh, exciting. Regulatory policy. Yes, people can watch Supreme Court cases be argued. However, the viewing gallery at the Supreme Court is rather limited. So if you want to go and see, Immigration Department versus Department of the Interior spending appropriations constitutionality, yeah, you can see that case pretty easily. If you want to see Trump court decision for the election, well, there's going to be a huge line to go into that case. I think the Supreme Court, though, is currently out of session right now, so they go back in October, I think, right? What's it like inside the building? There's a giant lobby you go into when you walk up the steps. Security, of course. Then you go in, there's like a big lobby. And then from the lobby you go into, it's like a entrance hallway, yeah? And then you go into the court. And the court is actually quite small. I can't remember if there's like 5 or 10 rows of seats. I think it probably fits about 50 to 70 visitors, if I can remember properly. But a lot of those visitors are part of the appellant's team and everything, so And then they come in, all rise, hear ye, oye, oye, or whatever, and the judges come in and render a decision, and you go out. I am on the way home. You may remember we were on Massachusetts Avenue. We walked down Wisconsin Avenue, and now we're cutting through the jungle back to Massachusetts Avenue and the embassies. No, the Supreme Courts don't have juries, so there's no jury duty at the Supreme Court. However, the U.S. District Court does have jury trials, and that is just down the road from the U.S. Supreme Court. As a Washington, D.C. resident, you get called to D.C. jury duty or U.S. District Court jury duty pretty much every other year. There's only so many people in D.C. and a lot of cases, so you could end up in court all the time. I have been called for jury duty, but I have never passed the test. As an attorney, I don't get called very often. When I do go into the court, I dress in a Brooks Brothers suit. I walk in, I look at the defendant with a face that says, yeah, you probably did it. And then I'm immediately stricken off the selection committee just by walking into the court. Juror number 576, walk in, give this sneering glance to the defendant, watch the defense attorneys just scratch my name off the list right there and then sit down. That's about it. I'd actually like to be on a trial case one day. Massachusetts Avenue, Rock Creek Parkway is right back there. So, there's the Islamic Center. And behind the Islamic Center is Obama's house. You do get paid for being a juror, but it's like $15 a day or something like that. It's not minimum wage. I don't think it's minimum wage. And for like like if you work for the U.S. government, they don't actually give you the check, they give the check to your employer. They do that with a lot of people. So now we gotta walk uphill. This kind of sucks. So over there is the Italian embassy of Italy. This is the ambassador from Brazil. This is his house, the Brazilian ambassador's residence. We'll see the Brazilian embassy in a moment. I forgot, I now have like a 1 mile uphill. Ugh. I am not downtown. Why is my kid calling me? Guys, if I get cut off, it's because my kid wants something. Department of Justice is like 9th in Pennsylvania, something like that. Is it near the Capitol? It's between the Capitol and the White House. It's about halfway between both. God, this kid won't stop talking to me. It's a very, very nondescript government office building. If you didn't know where it was, you wouldn't see it. The White House is at 16th in Pennsylvania. Department of Justice is like 7th or 9th in Pennsylvania, I think. So this is the Brazilian embassy. It's kind of modern. Up here is the Bolivian embassy. You know what? There's nobody coming. Hang on. Oh, jeez. Whew. Took my mask off. Oh. No, the White House, the nearest street is, you take 14th Street, but the actual White House address is 1600 Pennsylvania, I believe. We actually did get an earthquake in D.C. a couple years ago. That's why the National Cathedral that you saw at the beginning is under renovations, because it was damaged by an earthquake. That's the South African embassy over here on my right. Nelson Mandela. Oh, this is why I don't do this walk, because it's all uphill. The other walk is like 3 uphill segments, but then flat segments in between. But this one is just non-stop uphill. The Washington Monument was damaged in the earthquake. Yes. It was an earthquake in Pennsylvania, which is rare, but not uncommon. But this was a large one. I think it was like a 5 or something. And a lot of DC is made of stone. That's the British ambassador's residence. It's under renovation right now. That's why all the trucks are out there. The British ambassador lives here, along with some of his diplomatic staff. And this is the British Embassy. The Library of Congress has a full platoon of security guards. However, at the front desk, you'll only ever see the one. However, they're all over the building. They're also sort of helped by the U.S. Capitol Police Force, which is a massive police organization, patrolling about a 10 square block area with like over 1,000 police officers, SWAT teams, everything you could possibly ever need. So, the Library of Congress, the main reading room of the Library of Congress is gorgeous. There's a great famous scene in All the President's Men, filmed in the Library of Congress Jefferson Reading Room. But other than that, it's kind of just like an office building. Not really that fancy. Pretty good cafeteria on the roof. When I worked on Capitol Hill, we used to go over to the Library of Congress because they had this like buffet-style cafeteria. The Library of Congress, parts of it are open to the public. However, parts of it, you need to have a researcher card. You can't go down in the stacks, for example. You need to show some sort of reason for being in the library, like you're a researcher or a government employee. It's worth noting the Library of Congress belongs to the Congress. It is the Congress's library. People say it's the People's Library, but in reality it's not. So here we go. There's an aide arriving at Vice President Pence's house, getting checked by Secret Service. And this is the Vice President's house, filled with big fences. Yep, there you can see he's got clearance to go in. And the Vice President lives back up over there. The helicopters actually land right over here. We'll see. Oh, hang on a second. Someone's coming. Ah, shit. So busy putting on the mask. Person ran right by me. Yeah. Now I'm starting to get people, so I'm going to keep the mask on. It was a nice break while it lasted. So U.S. Naval Observatory is an actual observatory. It is where the U.S. atomic clocks keep the official time of the U.S. government. We will see that on the other side. You can also always call in to the observatory's master clock, and I'll tell you the time to the second. That's the time used by the U.S. government. Does Pence's house have snipers? Yes, they do. Though his roof, the White House roof is flat, so it's very easy for the snipers to walk around. Pence's roof is an angle, so I don't really see them up on the roof. But these woods are heavily patrolled. Oh, God, this is such an awful uphill. It's just one of these long, never-ending uphills. It's like, it just doesn't end. I don't know if they have any of the tree stands, but they've got like motion sensors, infrared, cameras, There's like a path for motorcycles. Well, I've never seen motorcycles. And I think it would be cool. There are no scooters nearby. Most of the scooters are downtown where the people are. It's just too isolated up here. Occasionally you find a random scooter, but generally no. The humidity is god level often right now. It is humid most of the year. Let's put it this way. While it's only about 82 degrees, not even that, it's like 78 degrees, 26, 27 Celsius. It's really humid. I have definitely worked up a sweat, even though it's in the high 70s, due to the humidity. So, it's not, I mean, Florida takes the cake, but it's actually pretty bad. Washington, D.C. is a swamp. It actually gets hotter here than it gets in Hong Kong. Hong Kong doesn't get that hot, but it's very sticky there in Hong Kong. That's the Finland embassy. Over there, the Finnish embassy. And next to it is the Vatican's embassy. So the Holy See has their embassy here. And then up there is the Norwegians. So Norway's embassy is under renovation. All the embassies up here are being renovated. Belgium's embassy is back here too, and they're getting renovated. She's got a scooter. She's sweating. Okay. The official time of the United States government is 5:27, 08, 09, 10, 11, 12. So, you can check your clock, see how close it is. They run a time server here that Apple picks up and pumps out to their iPhones. So we're pretty much all on the same time. I'm just gonna jaywalk. $5:27:34. It's not military time, so it'll go over again. So the vice president's house, you can just see behind that tree sometimes. There it is. Yeah, you can really see it. I tell you, in the winter, when we walk here in the winter, you'll see the house. 5:27, 57, 58, 59, 5:28. Now you guys can adjust, see how far of a lag Periscope has. 15-second delay. Okay, that's about average, I think. Interesting, I was in Hong Kong, where Steve on Radio 3 is a DJ on the local English language radio station and a Periscoper. So Steve on Radio 3 would be broadcasting over the AM, and I'd be watching on Periscope. And I was about a 5-second delay between what I heard on the actual over-the-air radio and what I saw on Periscope. It was kind of a funky test. I still have to go up. It's like that scene in Ghostbusters when they get to that mansion at the end. Which way? They're like, up. We have to go up. There's like 85 stories or something. Well, it resets to midnight. So 12:01, 12:02. It's not counting down. I think we said that was Cape Verde Islands over there. That's their embassy. Cape Verde. Then the Iraqi ambassador lives up here too. Oh God, I hate this hike. Do the embassies pay real estate taxes? No. Diplomatic missions are exempt. However, if the embassy owns the land, they don't pay taxes. But if a private businessman owns the embassy and leases it to a foreign country, I think the private businessman who owns the land would have to pay taxes. Some of these embassies are privately owned. bit complicated, I'm not really sure. For example, embassy staff do not pay sales tax at the grocery store. So when they go to the grocery store, they have this special card that gets swiped so that they don't get charged sales tax. All right, let's cut back this way. I don't think they are, even if they are assessed a property tax, there's no way to enforce it. I'm a U.S. citizen, but I am a permanent resident of Hong Kong. So I have a green card to live in Hong Kong, but I am a U.S. passport holder. I could get a Hong Kong passport, but it would actually be a Chinese passport. I would have to surrender my American passport to get it. I didn't really feel like that. Everything stops for tea. Define better. Everything's give and take. What you get in one state with cultural institutions, you lose in crime or taxes, and then you make up in weather and property costs. Like in this neighborhood in Washington, D.C., you would be hard-pressed to find any accommodation for under $1.2 million. So $1.2 million would get you a 1,200 square foot townhouse. So it's kind of frustrating. It's not like there's a lot of quality houses out there. This is $2 million probably. Easily. These are easily $2 million houses. There's just not a lot of affordable property up here. Cleveland Park is down there a bit. We're in our nearest subway is Woodley Park, but then we're over towards the cathedral a bit. So this is generally known as Cathedral Heights, which abuts Cleveland Park, Woodley Park areas. But there you can see is the cathedral. There you can see the construction gantries and scaffolding at the top. That is earthquake damage. That is because of an earthquake about 5 years ago. It caused $35 million in damage to the cathedral. Money that they just didn't have at the time. Are still struggling to pay off. This is a major problem for many large cathedrals in America. Is as America becomes a more secular nation, there are fewer and fewer people willing to tithe and give money to the churches. Money that becomes more and more essential as the old churches become older and in need of more maintenance. So many of the nation's famous and large churches are actually suffering from a backlog of maintenance. The cathedral is actually trying to raise $200 million as sort of a general fund, and then use the interest on that to repair the building and maintain the building. I want to say 5.4, 5.8, something like that. But unlike California, many of the buildings here are not designed around earthquakes. So while a 5.4 can hit California and maybe knock a few books off the shelves, a 5.4 here can do some serious damage. That's the baseball field. What's up, Albert? How's it going, mate? You still giving you hours?
Yeah.
Just a bit?
We do 4 10-hour days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That still works.
Still work out the overtime, but that's okay.
It's still working, that's that.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
How's everything for you?
I'm a teacher now. They're at home all the time. Drive me nuts.
Yeah.
See you later. Oh, that's one of the cops that protects my kids, and I make it a point to know all the cops and everyone. It's Albert, Officer Albert. I've been draining the pool. I never got to open the pool. What a shame. Will not stop calling me. Sorry about the disconnects. My youngest just can't stop calling. What an awful hike this has been. Yeah, we're still distance learning. Yeah, pool would be really nice, but you'd be surprised how few people have pools. I think because 6 months a year, a pool is just an impossibility. It's too cold. Look, we're back where we began. That wasn't a bad walk. Who's the biggest donor? I don't know. I honestly don't. This is the Episcopal Church. So oh, no, let's get these steps. Oh, finally a breeze. God. The kids call this Hogwarts. Oh. They are rocky stairs. So over here, you can see some of the earthquake damage. Some of the gargoyles and grotesques. The church is closed due to COVID right now. But this was removed from the top where they're currently rebuilding from the earthquake. On a normal day, the church is open for tours, paid tours, but it's also open for services for free. There is a nice gift shop where they actually sell statues of some of the gargoyles and other carvings. Slightly obscure fact, one of the gargoyles on the side of the building is Darth Vader. Matthew Shepard is buried inside, he's interred in here. But one of the gargoyles in the 1970s, they said, let's put Darth Vader on the side. So if you have a telephoto lens and you know where to look, you can see Darth Vader. I'll tell you right now, he's right up there. He's on the side of that part of the building. There's also a NASA spaceman. This building took about 75, maybe 80 years to build. It started in the early 1900s, and it was finally, this stained glass window was consecrated by Her Majesty the Queen, who is head of the Anglican Church, came over here for the service. And the church itself, the final opening, was presided over by George Bush Sr. in 1989, I think it was. Interesting side note, George Bush Sr. also had his final mass said at this cathedral. Senator McCain's mass was here. President Reagan, President Ford. The cathedral started, I think the cornerstone of the cathedral was put down by Teddy Roosevelt, and it was finished by Bush Sr. I don't know if anyone's been killed by a falling gargoyle. Not during the earthquake. I don't even know if anything really fell off during the earthquake, but stuff was definitely shaken up there. The engineers went up and freaked out. So there's your screenshot. Ooh, it's hot. So this is an all-girls school, National Cathedral School. Some say the movie Mean Girls was based on that school. Are you allowed to enter for a tour without pay? No, you're not. Due to the earthquake damage, they had to start charging admission to offset the costs of repairs. However, you are allowed to enter for free to any service that is open to the public. And you can look on the Cathedral. There are many, many services that are open. The tour is about $10. If you do the tour, be sure to get the observation deck included. There's an observation deck up halfway up the columns with a breathtaking view of the city. Is there an elevator to the observation deck? I think there is, actually. I seem to recall that there is. However, if you come in the springtime, there's the annual flower fair, which resembles an English spring carnival. And during that time, the cathedral is open to the public, and there's lots of things to do outside. Washington Monument has an elevator and stairs. However, you can only go up the stairs like once a year. They have one time a year the stairs are opened. Second side note, when the Washington Monument first installed an elevator, it was only for men. It was regarded to be too dangerous and too risky for women to use. So women had to walk up the stairs, and men, being the braver, would have to ride the rickety elevator. Women were like, wait a minute. What? Bethesda is about 3-4 miles north of here. We're in northwest Washington, D.C., near the cathedral right now. The Washington Monument elevator was actually damaged during the earthquake. The Washington Monument was damaged during the earthquake. Oh, I think it was like, I don't know what it was. The Washington Monument is 555 feet. What's the average stair step? 6 or 9 inches? So it could probably be 1,000 steps to get up to the Washington Monument. How many minute walk? Well, I walk a little bit fast. I could get to, at a good clip, I could get to the White House in about 45 minutes, maybe an hour from here. It's all downhill. So I'd say I could do it in 45 minutes. Ooh. Chinatown, yes, I've been there many times. We don't really call it Chinatown. We call it China Block because it's about 1 block long and it's filled in with Western stores now. There are very few Chinese left in Chinatown. Most of the Chinese have moved to the suburbs. So we go up there to Rockville. Okay, I got back to the grocery store. And it is time for me to go get some groceries and make dinner. Thanks a lot for walking with me today. That was a good workout. We'll continue to walk you around DC over the next few days. Ford's Theater is down by the White House. I am in Northwest DC by the National Cathedral. About to go into the giant food store. Anyway, see you guys next time. We gotta go buy dinner.